Greetings, welcome to the channel. Um, First off, I want to apologize for the audio. The audio is going to be subpar on this one. I got a new laptop, so I'm still trying to work out all the ins and outs with the audio. But I wanted to put this video out, uh, touching on a topic that I'm familiar with, and that is the topic of uh, scalp folliculitis, right? As you can see, there's different uh, variations, I guess you could say, severities. Um, I first started dealing with it probably back in probably early 2000. Started off as like a single, like a single little, like a single little spot on top of my scalp, and then within the year, um, my head was covered, especially like around the crown. Throughout the years, it ended up spreading, and you all out there that are dealing with this know exactly what I'm talking about. Like, it's a bear to deal with. It really is very disheartening. Um, your scalp's like constantly itching. You've been to numerous doctors, numerous antibiotics, shampoos, natural remedies. You're canceling hair appointments and barber appointments. Um, it's awful. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. But I'm just speaking plainly right now. There won't be any editing or anything on this video. Um, but the information will still be there. And if you do your due diligence, as far as like research, which I'm sure you all that have been dealing with this any length of time have done plenty of research. I know I have. But we're going to go over a couple things because from what I found out when I was doing my research is, you know, um, like nobody's really found any uh, ways to remedy or to cure it. They're all over the place as far as like the medical field goes on what's causing it. I have my suspicions, and I'll touch on that in this video for sure. Um, I'll share what I found recently that has worked for me. I don't think it's cured it, but it's definitely made a difference as far as the symptoms goes. I'm not having breakouts. My scalp isn't itching. My hair isn't falling out. So if I can help just one person with this information, then this video will be well worth it because I know what it's like dealing with this, right? So, all right. So let's kind of take a look at uh, folliculitis and some of the variations, right? Um, as you can see, some are way more severe than others. Like here, you have like your hair loss, heavy scarring, uh, inflamed scalp, a lot of itching. It's and also it can from what I've researched, it can base anywhere there's a hair follicle, it could be an issue, right? But like this gentleman here, it's in his beard, and see, right right before I found the remedy that helped me, mine went from my scalp and then it started like showing up along my hairline, like on my forehead, and then it was showing up. I started getting spots in my beard, and so what I'm getting at is it can basically show up wherever there's hair. I've heard a couple stories where people have shown up in people's eyebrows. you know. Um, it's so it basically shows up wherever there's a hair follicles present, right? But what makes it rough getting it on the scalp is there's so many follicles. Probably the most follicles on your body is going to be on your scalp, and it's going to be the most sensitive because all the the blood vessels and stuff that are up there. Your scalp's sensitive, and you guys that know that they're dealing with this, these things are painful, painful, and that's one thing I also wanted to mention. Um, I mentioned like it being, you get dry, your scalp can get really dry, and it gets itchy, and like you'll get these breakouts and stuff. But one thing you want to try to refrain from doing is like lancing them or scratching at them. Because when you lance them or you scratch at them, you spread them around, like you spread them. That's why they're so hard to get rid of. They itch so bad, but if you scratch them, you're going to spread them. I remember many times, like I'd have one little spot, and I guess it would itch like during my sleep or something, and I'd scratch at it, and then by the next day before I went to bed, like I'd have four or five more in that area from where I'd scratched and spread it. So that's definitely one thing you want to try to refrain from doing is lancing or scratching at them. All right. Um, what else I want to touch on? Oh, diet. Diet is huge. I remember um, probably it was a few years ago. I was training a lot. Uh, I wanted to get in really good shape, so I switched my diet up. Right, so I went to the keto diet. First couple weeks was rough because my body was having withdrawals from all the poisons basically that they put in the food, right? So I weaned myself off of that stuff, and just basically went like with a basic keto diet. With a keto diet and intermittent fasting. I would eat from 12 p.m. My window for eating would be from 12 p.m. till 7 or 8 p.m. And I wouldn't eat anything till the next day. And this is huge because it gives your body time to recuperate. When you eat a meal, your body automatically starts like trying to break down that food. When you eat like certain foods or a lot of food, like it makes your body has to go into overdrive, so to speak, to break that food down and process it. So what I'm getting at is like your diet's huge. You want to try to cut out um, sugar. I cut out sugar. I cut out dairy. Um, uh, you could just look into the keto diet, right? Just look into the keto diet. I recommend starting there, and I know that works for fat because I was on that particular diet for at least 13 months. I felt great. The first 2 weeks were hard, like I said, because my body was basically having withdrawals. The first, couple weeks are probably going to be kind of rough, but once I got past that hump, like I felt great. I started shedding. I went from probably 175, 180 pounds down to 155 walking weight, and at one point I got as low as 145, and I felt amazing. I was ripped to the gills, and just I had energy for days. And my point of this rant was all my symptoms from my folliculitis, which I'd been dealing, like I said, since early 2000. All those symptoms were gone. So food definitely plays a factor. I'm not a drinker or smoker, but I'd say those obviously play a part on your health as well. So you want to watch what you eat. What else? Another topic I want to get into was antibiotics, right? What do we do? We start dealing with this and it starts getting out of control. We kind of, we start to worry a little bit. We go to the good old doctor or your dermatologist or whoever. And what's the first thing they do, right? They start prescribing the antibiotics. Well, the thing that I dealt with, and I'm sure a lot of you other people out there that's been dealing with this, one thing that happened happened with me was like the antibiotics would work. Some work better than others. Some didn't work at all. But as soon as I stopped that cycle, within probably not even 24 hours, like all the symptoms would come back. My, my scalp would start itching again, and then it'd start breaking out, and it'd be downhill from there. And then I was back at the doctor, and they were just they were just masking it, right? They weren't even trying to to heal or to find out, what was causing it. I had probably out of at least 20 dermatologists, I had one doctor do a culture on it, and it came back. It was basically a staph, like a type of a staph infection. So, which knowing that later on kind of helped me as far as finding the remedy that I'll be getting into here shortly that made the difference. So, on the topic of the antibiotics, like I've hit some of the forums and stuff. There's a couple Facebook forums where people are dealing with this, and they're pretty informative. But a lot of them talk about a certain um, antibiotic called Accutane. I was actually on Accutane. I wasn't on it long because it made me so sick. But I just want to kind of go over some of the side effects and to basically just warn people not to get into um, not to use Accutane. Right? Accutane, from what I've studied, is it's given to cancer patients. Right? It's like an intro to like chemotherapy. Right? Or a precursor. It's a precursor to chemotherapy. Right? So here's look. It's what, 9? Look, that's not even all the symptoms. Right? Look at all this. Right? And I had pretty much every one of these. Like my hair would come out in clumps when I was on that. Uh, Depression. I was severely depressed when I was on that. As if what I was dealing with already wasn't depressing enough. Right? Chap lips. It definitely dry my lips out. The inside of my nose. It's stuff's no good. Um, I know after a while you kind of start feeling kind of desperate. You just want to do whatever you can to stop. Some of the symptoms you're dealing with. But I have to say, stay away from this Accutane at all costs. For me, it just wasn't worth it. And the same thing. It as soon as I came off of it, like all the symptoms returned. So they're the juice isn't worth the squeeze. I definitely recommend staying away from Accutane. Right. All right. So approaching 15 minutes in this video already. So some of you are like, man, like, what do we do? What works? All right. We'll get into that. First thing I want to recommend is, and uh, both of these can be found on Amazon if that's your thing. I'm sure this could be found other places as well, but I haven't seen it in like any local stores, so I'm assuming it's something you can only get online. Well, one of the things you can only get online. The first one I'll show you, you can probably find wherever, grocery store or something. And that would be Panoxyl. Panoxyl has BP or benzoyl peroxide. The one that I got, the first one I got, and I actually bought this one on accident. They have a 4% and a 10% benzoyl peroxide. Benzoyl peroxide. Sorry. I ended up ordering the 10. I was using it like in my beard and along my forehead, like my hairline, and it worked. Definitely don't leave it on overnight because it'll dry your skin out. I made that mistake, but this works. Um, but I actually once I got on uh, this next item, like I quit using this like altogether because the next one it to say it worked wonders would be an understatement, right? So Panoxyl, you can go with a 4% benzoyl peroxide or a 10%. I tried the 10% and it worked. All right. So the next item is Hy-Vee Cleanse. I guess I'm pronouncing that right. As you can see, I've purchased it twice recently, August 19th. Um, and at the time of this recording, $15.60 for a 32-ounce bottle. Uh, I don't know about you all, but that's cheaper than any doctor copay or antibiotic payment or antibiotic prescription payment that I've ever made, right? And this stuff lasts a while. I think I've been using this stuff for probably close to a year now, and I'm still on the first bottle. Um, it doesn't lather up. It's thin, it doesn't lather up a whole lot, but it goes a long way. And as you can tell by the ratings, like it's got some solid ratings. I mean, that's almost a 5-star rating with 24,000 reviews, right? And again, it works. If I had to pick one thing that worked and kept working, unlike like I said, antibiotics and stuff, because after a while your body pretty much gets immune to it, right? The antibiotics don't work anymore. And I've been on some big gun antibiotics. You name it, I've probably been on it. But this stuff here, it just works, and it hasn't stopped working, right? And I'll use it on my scalp. Some people are like, "Oh, won't it burn my scalp or burn my skin?" No. Yeah, well, I can't say no. It did for me. I'll say that much, right? What works for me might not work for you. What I have, the type of folliculitis that I have or had, hopefully had, might be different than what you're dealing with, right? But it's worth a shot. So I want to end this video out with some scripture. I'm in Mark chapter 5, KJV. Start with we'll start with 24. So Mark 5:24. And Jesus went with him, and much people followed him and thronged him. And a certain woman which had an issue of blood 12 years, and had suffered many things of many physicians, and had spent all that she had, and was nothing bettered, but rather grew worse. And when she had heard of Jesus, came in the press behind and touched his garment. So Jesus is getting thronged, right? Like he's a superstar by this point. His ministry's blown up. Like everybody knows who he is, right? So he's got all these people around her, or around him, and this lady, she cut through the crowd and just touched his garment. For she said, "If I may touch but his clothes, I shall be whole." And straightway the fountain of her blood was dried up, and she felt in her body that she was healed of that plague. And Jesus Immediately, knowing in himself that virtue had gone out of him, turned him about in the press and said, "Who touched my clothes?" And his disciples said unto him, "Thou seest the multitude thronging thee, and sayest thou, Who touched me?" And he looked around about to see her that had done this thing. But the woman, fearing and trembling, knowing what was done in her, came and fell down before him, and told him all the truth. And he said unto her, Daughter, thy faith has made thee whole. Go in peace, and be whole of thy plague. I wish you all the best. I hope you gained something from this video. Um, Let me know in the comments. It took about a week, maybe closer to 2 weeks, for me to start seeing some really good results. Right, so give it a week or two, and let me know how it works out for you. Bless you all in truth and spirit. And if you have any questions, or want to make a comment, feel free. I'll answer to my ability. Blessings.